Let's start with the news that you have out this morning, and that is that Eli Lilly is buying Scorpion Therapeutics' breast cancer program for up to $2.5 billion. And I'll start with the basics. Why this deal and why now?
Yeah, well, it fits in really well with what we're doing in breast cancer, which is changing the lives for so many people who suffer from that condition. Of course, Verzenio is our leading product in that space. This is a targeted therapy for a specific mutation in breast cancer. It affects 30 to 40% of women with breast cancer. And Scorpion's developed this program through phase 2. It's a big phase 3 program to get this to market. And so it's a great transaction for both sides, and it adds to what we're doing. We also have another oral medication for breast cancer coming. We read out data last year. So a growing cluster of medicines there to really help people live longer with breast cancer. It's an exciting deal for us, and we're pleased to work with Scorpion to bring it in-house.
Yeah, and this deal was really interesting because it's a nice reminder that, of course, Eli Lilly does more than just weight loss. So give us some context on the overall portfolio here, how the oncology fits with, of course, weight loss and everything else that you do.
Yeah, well, we have 4 therapeutic areas, and of course, diabetes and weight loss has been the story all of last year, and that it's exciting because it's growing and big, but that's about 40% of the company. The other 60% is also doing incredibly well. Breast cancer, we mentioned in oncology here. We have other oncology assets, including for hematology, that are in the market and doing great. Immunology is another important area for us, and products like Ebglyss for atopic dermatitis, which just launched in Q4, along with Taltz for psoriasis. And then neuroscience. Alzheimer's launched last year in the fourth quarter, and we're ramping that now. So the company's got a broad portfolio. We want to work on medicines for terrible diseases of all kinds, not just obesity, but of course the obesity story is exciting and broad as well.
And before we get into some of the specific areas there, when it comes to M&A, obviously there is a ton of optimism as it relates to the M&A environment under a second Trump administration. What is your M&A strategy? Where are there more opportunities for inorganic growth?
Yeah, well, we've been very consistent, and it's working for us. The motion for us is to go early and stay in our lane, basically. So focus on the therapeutic areas where we know a lot. That makes us a smart buyer. And by going early, we take more risk, but do smaller deals. I know there's been a lot of talk about M&A under the Biden administration and how hard it's been, but for us, not so much. We've done 100 deals in the last 3 years. That's the most in biopharma, but a lot of them are small, below the radar, but it builds that early stage pipeline strength for us. And Lilly may be in a little different position because our near-term outlook, maybe our midterm outlook, is so strong. We don't need to plug a sales gap. We're just trying to find assets where we can add value and create great medicines for patients. This deal with Scorpion is another example of that.
Yeah, and a great point, too, about flying under the radar there with those bite-sized deals. Let's get to GLP-1s, of course. There's a lot of anticipation and excitement around your oral weight loss drug, of course. There's some forthcoming data. And if that trial, in particular, is successful, how long do you think it would take to get approval here?
Yeah, so a lot of developments going on in our incretin portfolio. Orforglipron is the name of the medicine.
I'm going to practice that.
Yeah, it's hard. I had to practice too. And we should get data before the middle of the year, the first set of studies. It's highly anticipated and really important. 1, because it's convenient, could be an oral pill. 2, efficacy point. Is it as good as Ozempic, essentially, or semaglutide? That's the goal for us, and as tolerable. If it is, it could be approved in early 26. And the benefit here is not just the convenience of the pill, but the ability to scale it. We all know the production systems for injectables have really been stretched, and we continue to build sites and so forth. But with the oral technology, we can make more and get this medicine to more people around the world. And I think that's an exciting development for the company if the data is positive.
And I know my co-anchor in New York, Matt Miller, is listening very closely right now. He would tell you himself he'd like to get in one of these trials. But when we get...
Have him call me. Yeah.
I will. Yeah. When we get to the approval stage, I mean, what do you see as the dynamic between the oral medications and the injectables? How much of the market do you see the orals potentially taking?
Well, I think we'll see over the next 3 years fragmentation as you see in any scaled market. Right now, total incretins in the world are probably exiting, 40 to 50 billion. And so that's a big market in pharma, and it likely is going well north of that. And so we'll expect people to carve out niches. One niche is medicalization. So, for instance, at the end of last year, Zepbound or Mounjaro showed success in sleep apnea. So here's like a targeted condition, like 10 million Americans, and it's the only drug approved in that space. So people with that condition will seek the medication. We have also people who just want to lose weight for general health. So that's a broad-based. And then, products like coming like our triple-acting incretin, retatrutide, which is in phase 3 studies now, will likely be segmented toward more the people who need to lose more weight. So their BMIs are over 35. They have more to lose. So I think you'll see new medicines come out covering different segments of this very large and growing market. And the oral likely serves that sort of first-line, broad-based need, and that's great because we can produce a lot of it. It also will be an important medicine for middle-income markets like China and Brazil, where there is, India, lots of obesity, but we just can't get enough of our product there at the right price point right now because the injectable systems are expensive and hard to scale.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about pricing here. And I know that it's early or still in trials, but if approved, would you expect that the orals would be priced cheaper than Zepbound?
Well, I mean, we priced Zepbound cheaper than semaglutide when we launched, and it's a better product. We've proven that. You lose almost 50% more weight. When we do pricing, of course, the value in the actual clinical data is very important, so we'll have to see that. But also we need to think about this segmentation we just discussed. So more to come on pricing. We're not going to announce it today. We need to first get the phase 3 study done. But our goal will be to reach the masses with that product. And so we need a pricing strategy in concert with that.
Well, I tried on the pricing, but...
Well, I'll come back on your show and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
I will follow up with you on that, but let's talk a little bit about politics here. And of course, the incoming president, Donald Trump, you met with him recently. When it comes to the new administration, what sort of pricing policies are you potentially anticipating there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We are still waiting for them to be seated, inauguration next week, and the confirmations, et cetera. I would say first that this idea of incoming administration that's focused on the health of Americans is one that excites us. And there's a lot of common cause with the pharma industry and Lilly. We wake up every day trying to make America healthy again. So if that's the goal, we have common interests. How that happens, we need to learn more, what the strategies are. But of course, for instance, with our Zepbound, I mean, what a great tool to really improve the overall health of America. So we'll seek partnerships with them to say, how can we expand access? How can we get new medicines like orforglipron approved faster? How can we improve insurance coverage and reduce costs for Americans? Those are all topics we want to engage on. And they also want to make the system work better. I think the president's talked about the role of the middlemen. And of course, we need a way to get our drugs to patients. But the way the system's set up, like so many things in healthcare, is too complicated and non-transparent. And so we support those kinds of changes as well. I
want to go back to Alzheimer's. Yeah. We were talking a little bit in the commercial break about it. And, in the context of Eli Lilly being more than just weight loss drugs, your Alzheimer's treatment received FDA clearance in July of 2024. What indications can you give us about adoption so far?
Yeah, and it's so exciting for us because we've spent so much time, like 30 years, working to get a medicine approved. It's been very difficult. We launched in September. We make a number of the diagnostics, and the good news is we see a lot of people seeking answers to the question, if I have dementia symptoms, do I also have amyloid, and am I a candidate for the medicine? So that's growing pretty rapidly right now. And then Kisunla, our brand, we're seeing utilization start to ramp, particularly in December. So that's good news. And we're not done there yet. I think there's studies to read out ahead, maybe late this year, early next year, in Alzheimer's prevention, which is, I think, a much better answer. Why wait till you get the dementia symptoms? Let's prevent it if you have amyloid, excess amyloid in your brain. And then more broadly, I think for viewers interesting, I am super bullish on neurodegeneration as a category we can address with medicines. And those are the scariest conditions we think about: Parkinson's, ALS, Alzheimer's. I think there's more medicines coming in Alzheimer's and more medicines coming in these other conditions, hopefully from Lilly. But that's an area where science is moving rapidly, and Lilly's at the forefront.